everyone, welcome back to another fantastic episode of Simplifying Life with Kashira. I'm your host Kashira, and today we are in for a treat because we are being joined by an amazing person, Linda Monahan. It's such a pleasure to have you with us today, Linda.
Oh, thank you so much, Kashira. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of your podcast and part of your journey.
And just to fill you all in, Linda is an accountability and habit coach. She hosts the highly acclaimed podcast known as Corporate to Calm, which has gotten #1 spot in career podcast. Wow, that is something. How do you feel about it?
It's great. It's so funny. I suppose I never thought about where it would niche, and you have to pick. As you know, you have to pick certain categories when you launch a podcast. So I picked business and careers because Corporate Cam was really stemming from my journey and my move from the corporate life into owning my own business. So it kind of seemed natural to pick a career podcast, and it was great, and it kind of it gave a lot of people inspiration to find whatever their cam is. And that's what's been really interesting about the plus 50 episodes, is that it's not necessarily leaving corporate to pursue your own business.
Mm-hmm.
Many of my guests have gone back to corporate, and that's where they found their cam. Many of my guests have changed business completely, or they've just changed their role within corporate. Or one of my guests got plastic surgery, and that's the cosmetic surgery. So that's how they found their cam, So it's really whatever makes you happy, and whatever big change you've made to make you happy. And it's been an absolute joy to listen to other people's stories for the past, it's nearly 2.5 years now.
Wow. So it's been 2.5 years that you are on this journey of Corporate to Calm.
Yes, from the podcast. And really, my own corporate cam journey began in 2017 when I was due to go back to my corporate role. I was a marketing manager for an FMCG company, and I had 2 kids in very quick succession. After about 5 years of struggling to conceive. So we had IVF, we had miscarriages, and subsequently I had a procedure which is called a hysteroscopy, which is essentially cleansing the womb. So it's scraping down the womb, it's cleaning the womb. And we were pregnant within 3 or 4 weeks of that procedure. So very naturally, after kind of 5 years of stress, and we had our first child in 2014, and then our second child in 2016. And I went back to my corporate role after the first child pregnant. Essentially, I think I got pregnant maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, and I think there was a kind of, when I had my second child, there was a realization that maybe I can't work those 80 hours that I had previously been working. And it just kind of all came to a head. So we went our mutual ways, and that's where the journey started. I didn't necessarily want to leave my corporate role. I loved the company. I loved the social aspect. I loved the job. I spun plates. It was a really thriving atmosphere, but I don't know, personalities clashed, and things weren't implemented from their side. The things weren't implemented from my side. There's always 2 sides to every story. So from there, I decided that I wasn't going to go back into a corporate role, and I was going to open my own business. And I opened my own fitness business. So I became a Pilates teacher, and I had my own Pilates business for about 4 years. So that was a huge journey, helping so many people with mobility, flexibility, and that's probably where the habits side came into it. And after the pandemic, so I moved online during the pandemic, and after the pandemic I really had to kind of assess where I was going and what I wanted to do. And my heart is really in business and helping primarily women in business and women in tech from the corporate side of things to take their time and find their balance and hold themselves accountable within their work roles and outside of that as well. So, essentially some people pay me to tell them to take a walk, which is so sad, but so necessary for some people, and other people pay me to tell them how to schedule social media posts or tell them, to be consistent on social media or tell them how to contact, the company's board to put X in or Y. It's different. It's really a different service for every single client, and that's what's really good about my coaching services, is that it's very bespoke as well. So it's what they need as opposed to what I offer, if that makes sense.
Wow.
A big journey.
This is really interesting, actually, because I think for many of us this will be new, that there are people who are requiring service for some basic stuff, as you said, that people pay you to take a walk with them. I mean, and that shows us a different aspect of life people are going through. So as we were just talking behind the screen, that we are stuck with our own griefs, our own fears. There are people going through altogether different things in their life, and they're struggling with few basic stuff. And I'm sure they're so grateful that people like you are there to provide you services and to help them out, because it is also important. Sometimes, for example, if I'm going through something, I won't know if I will find any such person to whom I can contact and seek services.
Exactly. And for me, it's I'm very clear that I'm not a life coach. I'm not going to hold your hand and help you through crazy life decisions or anything like that. I want to help you execute your plan. That's what I want. I can help you with strategy. I can help you, but essentially it's down to my clients doing the work for themselves as well. And sometimes that can be kind of that can be difficult, because a lot of people have this is going to sound very harsh, but sometimes a victim mentality, and as you say, the fear of doing stuff. And sometimes I feel that it's like people want you to hold their hand, but not necessarily hold their hand, do the work for them. And you cannot do the work for people. They have to do the work for themselves. So it's really, for me, it's helping them check in and, as I say, stay consistent with everything. I would have clients and they might have a huge presentation on Monday and they're starting to look at it on the Thursday before. And the whole premise of that relationship is really going, okay, when did you find out about this presentation? 2 weeks previous. Well, why didn't you spend 15 minutes per day and you're nodding your head, Kashira, because that makes complete sense to you, but to some people it just doesn't. It doesn't make sense, and it could be for a number of reasons that they, probably the biggest thing for my clients is really time management and boundaries. And we're all culprits of putting something in our diary and maybe taking twice or three times as long as we've allocated in the diary. And it's being realistic with those time management expectations. And that's another thing that I would say to people. It's like, you're not going to get those 10 things done that you have put into your diary for those that day. But why don't you put 3 things in, and those 3 things make you money? Because sometimes we tend to flip our to-do list around. So we have the nice things to start. And I've seen a lot of studies where people say the nice things to start are good because it gives us momentum, but it also gives us a false sense of accomplishment as well. Whereas, I mean, you've heard of the book Eat the Frog?
Eat the
where
rock. No.
eat the frog.
Eat
And
the
it's
frog.
essentially,
Okay.
yeah, so
Okay.
it's essentially do the worst task first. So
Okay.
you've done that. And I mean, we're all guilty of putting off a task that probably will take 15 minutes for a week.
Yeah,
you know. So it's getting those sort of priorities ready, you know, for my clients as well.
Yeah, and I so agree with you, and I think I'm finding it so relatable because I also come from that mindset that pick up something easy to do it in the morning so that you have that kind of sense of accomplishment. And as you said, uh, we feel that it gives us momentum to go ahead in our day and accomplish further things. And this is the first time I'm getting to know that it could actually be a fake feeling of momentum. And I think that is an interesting way to look at it.
And it's not necessarily a generic thing.
Yeah.
It depends on the type of person that you are, you know, and it you know, it will be different for everybody. And there will be so many people listening and they were like, yeah, that really works for me. That momentum, it pushes me forward into getting the difficult things done. Where for other people, it's really procrastination, and it's working on the fluffy. I always called it like the fluffy stuff. It's like I'll just go into Canva and make a couple of social media templates and mess around with the colors. And I'm like, well, where are you making money there? You know, you know, unless it's part of your strategy to, you know, implement a new product and it's going towards that, you know, marketing strategy X, Y, and Z. It's like, there should be tasks in your day where you are clearly making money, and you know, that's a completely other topic where as women, and I'm probably a lot older than you, and we've been taught, you know, we should be ashamed for asking for money, or we should be, well, not necessarily taught it, but it's been part of society, and it's like, no, you shouldn't be ashamed. Yes, you should follow your passion. Yes, you should absolutely live the life that you want to live. But if you're doing that and you're helping people, the flow will come and the money will come as well, you know, and it's not to feel embarrassed about that either.
Yeah, that's so true actually. And I think this is going to encourage a lot of women out there to not be ashamed of asking what you deserve. It's absolutely normal. I think it's all about getting under that huge pressure of what the society will think, what the people will think, and these people who never exist anywhere. So that is the hard reality which we all need to understand. I think, be it men or women, anybody out there, if you're providing services and if you know that you're putting in efforts in that, you're out there in market to help out people, go ahead and ask for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think and go ahead.
No, you were just saying about, you know, fears, and it in reality, you know, all that you're feeling is somebody's perception of you.
Yes.
It's not necessarily how they feel about you. It's not necessarily, these are all things that are out of your control. So you might as well be you and do you, and you know, ask for what you're worth and what you deserve, as opposed to, you know, sitting back and being like, oh, I'm so grateful to be here. And it's like, no, you deserve to be here as well.
Absolutely. And I think this is actually taking me back to one of the videos which I did a few weeks ago. It was about being bold. And that covers exactly what you're talking about, that if you've got a question, go ahead and ask. If you want something, say it out. You're feeling something about, maybe good or bad, just speak up. There is no point in staying back and killing yourself with your own feelings. No, you have feelings about it, speak it up. There'll be only two consequences, right? Yes or no, right or wrong. You can look at it later on, but do your part. And so just want to tell you that, one of my mentor, like in very early stage of my career, when I was like, when my first time when I got into corporate, that man told me that until you will ask, you don't know whether you'll get it or not. I am coming from a background wherein I used to hesitate even in going to my manager and asking for leaves. I used to be that hesitant. And all the transformation from that girl to this person who can invite people to have a conversation, it is all about because I willingly wanted to transform myself. I wasn't happy with the personality I had. I desired a personality, and there are further levels to go, even more ahead in life. So it took me a lot of efforts, a lot of courage, and as you rightly said, right amount of planning, getting right things in your diary, getting right things in your schedule. So that strategizing is also something really important. You need to know what are your goals. How will you act if you're not aware of your goals? And I think this is one mistake which I actually did in my life. When I started, I used to feel that, oh, I just want things, but somehow these are not happening because I had few
Yes.
things in mind that I want to see myself like this. But for example, I want to see myself with blue colored hairs. Okay. Now I have to look up for a salon. I have to fix an appointment. I have to take out that kind of money. So there are steps to get that thing done. You cannot just sit at home and not do anything about it. So with that basic example, it actually relates to the same thing, that you need to have your crystal clear goals in your life. Take small, but do them. Even if you go ahead with three small goals that you can accomplish in a day, in 2 days, 3 days, write it and act on it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's funny because one thing that I've learned from my journey, so over the past kind of 6 years, is initially I would have absolutely no problem in pushing for my clients. So, I would say to my clients about, radio interviews or podcast interviews, articles, write that blog, get that blog out there. And then I kind of realized, okay, I'm not doing that for myself. So we're so much braver for other people. And it's the whole thing about it's yes or it's no, as you just said, Kashira. It's yes or it's no. And it's getting used to no. That's I think one of the keys to a successful life and a successful business. It's getting used to that word no, because essentially it's just an opportunity for something else. And maybe it's no for now as well. And we all know the great saying, if you don't ask, you don't get. That's what. And I've kind of flipped that on the head over the past few years. And my big mantra is, if you do ask, you don't regret.
Yes.
So if you do ask the question, you've no regrets, because whether it's a yes or whether it's a no, you've done that. And I find as well that asking the questions just makes you braver to ask more questions and to ask for more opportunities as well. So it's really good, just good practice. It's kind of like, okay, today I'll ask for this and tomorrow I'll ask. It's just building our momentum again. We've used that word a couple of times, but I think it's really important. And it's getting over ourselves and getting over those fears, because that's often the gap between ordinary and extraordinary. Is just a fear gap, and it's so small, but a lack of consistency and fear is the biggest blocks for people, in my opinion.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you, and there's no second thought in that. And sometimes I really feel, Linda, that what if there was no fear? Because while growing up in my own life, I felt so many times that I have lost some really outstanding opportunities in my life because I could not fight with my own fears. I was like, okay, I want this, but then I had to take a few steps back because maybe I wasn't ready to do that kind of thing in my head. There are opportunities which has come from in front. I haven't even asked for them. I just have to grab it. But that constant battle between the head and the heart and that fear thing, oh, no, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, and I've lost.
Yeah, and it's so true. And you just said, you brought me back to a conversation that I had with my own coach, and she basically said, she said, it was funny. It was actually take fear and money out of it. So remove those two things. What would you do? And it's like that's a huge release, because how many people would say, oh yeah, I'd still go to my 9 to 5 job? No, it's like you live the life that you want to live. You'd do what you wanted to do. So it is sometimes removing those barriers, for you to get where not where you need to be, to get where you should be, and to get where you want to be.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so amazing. And I think our conversation is actually creating that positive vibe, because I'm able to relate with you so much. And I'm so glad that we're actually having this conversation. Thank you so much once again. Linda, that actually brings me to another thing. So you said that you have been a habit coach. I think you're still doing that habit coaching thing, right?
Yes. And it's all part of the accountability coach. To be honest with you, I'm going to be very honest. The habit part came about because I like habits. I'm not neurotypical. I'm neurodivergent, so I have constant conversations in my head, and I, literally, I'm like, I brush my teeth, go for it, do the, but habits and tracking my habits has really held me accountable. So for me, it kind of goes together. And I'll be completely honest with you, habit is a lot higher on an SEO search than accountability is. So that was one of the reasons that I included habits into it as well. So sometimes we need to think about what we're going to call ourselves on our social media or our website as well, because accountability is such a huge aspect that not a lot of people even think that they require. And accountability coaching is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But for me, I think both go hand in hand. And habits are a huge part of accountability.
Help me understand, because I don't know about others, but for me, accountability coach is a new term. Okay, I got to know about it when I was studying you. Okay. Yeah, so help me understand, what exactly is accountability coach? Is it like taking accountability of ourselves, our habits?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It's really creating a space where you, as I said previously, it's about people's bespoke goals and their bespoke journey. So it's really identifying the areas that my clients need help with. So if they're really good at social media, there is no point in taking time to work on that area. But they might be really good at social media and scheduling and everything like that, but maybe they're not so good at getting in front of the camera. So we'll work on that aspect as well. But it's really finding, I don't want to say the weakness in their but finding where they haven't brought an area of their business maybe to other levels of areas of their business, and really working on that. And for some of my clients, it might be their strategic message. So it might be a case that they are doing everything to get themselves out there, but the message isn't very clear, maybe on social media, or they might need help with their website. The biggest thing is, I'm not in there building a website or, creating social media tactics or techniques, but I am helping them with their plan moving forward. So I will suggest, you need to work with a web designer, or this is where, if you make these changes, and we'll go through the strategy maybe of the website, and maybe the search engine optimization isn't on par, and we'll sit down and build that strategy, and then they'll deliver that to their website designer, and that this is the journey, and this is where I want to take it. So it's really about holding the client to task. So if we meet every month, that there is a clear plan for the month for my client, and that involves like their time management, their boundaries, helping people to say the word no and not giving an explanation, and the consistency as well in all aspects of their business. So it's given that consistency, and then as well it's given that celebration and validation and pat on the back, depending on the client, depending on whether they need that, because some people, they really just need to, you're doing a good job, no matter what, you're doing a good job. And I suppose that's where the whole fitness side comes into it as well. So it's, I'll know the people that I need to go, why haven't you done this? And then it's like, okay, I appreciate that you haven't done this. How can we get this done for the next? So it's really navigating people's personalities. It's navigating it's navigating their business journey, but it's holding space for them, because I think the biggest thing that we can do as business people, as corporate people, is work and work and work, but where are the results? So that's what it's about. It's about working smarter and delivering those results by identifying the areas that are really going to deliver for your business, as in money wise, because we can all be busy fools, and we can all just not deliver on our potential at the end of the day. So it's a safe space for them to find clarity on their business and find where they are going to make money, essentially, as well.
Yeah. You kind of aid them to reinforce their own strengths and tell them, show them the mirror that how good you are. That's superb. So I think that is actually reminding me of Zig Ziglar's words. Have you heard about him, Zig Ziglar? Okay, so there's this very motivational quote by him. He said that you don't have to be great to start.
Yes.
You have to start to be great.
Yes. And there's always a good, I don't know where it has stemmed from, but it's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. I always see him, and it's day one or one day.
Yes.
So,
yes.
It's like day one, and that goes through my head when I have to get something started. It's always like day one or one day.
Absolutely.
And it's really funny, because I'm just thinking about, some clients that I would have, and some of their blocks, it takes time to get over. And the biggest thing as well is actually working with people and identifying that sometimes it's working alongside an accountability coach, but it's finding that maybe they need to go and seek therapy as well. Maybe they need to go and find help in other ways, because it might I provide the tools to get you there, but underlying there could be a long-term problem that I am not going to solve. So that's really important as well, to understand that there's a safe space to go, okay, I think that, we need extra help here, and we need to kind of break down, as we've said previously, those fears, because, habits and consistency aren't going to, I can tell you to be consistent. I can tell you, make that phone call, put that social media post out there. But if you're anxious and you have anxiety thinking about it because of something that happened previously in your life, I'm not the person that's going to help you fix it. I provide the tools and techniques, and we need to look at other areas at where we can fix those areas for you as well.
Yeah. Interesting. Linda, you said that you like to track your life and your habits, because I think that is really important to be able to quantify what we've achieved, what not, what is there still in the pipeline to be done. I want to understand from you, have you always been this particular about the habits in life, or what really happened that got you that particular, that okay, these are the habits and I have to live by them because these are really crucial. Without habits, we are not going to reach anywhere. I mean, this is what I have seen in my life. I'm saying it from my experience. We need to have habits to live by.
So that's such a good question, because I'm always thinking about the answer to that question, because I think that I have 5 habits that I live by. I'll go into them in a second. I have 5 habits that I just live by, and then obviously there's habit stacking. If for the listeners, if you thought about your habits and thought about what you were going to do, you know, whether you're neurotypical or neurodivergent, if you thought about every single thing that you were going to do, you'd probably be eating your breakfast at 6 p.m. in the evening, because you can't think about putting one leg out of bed. You can't think about turning a light. You know, it's literally everything from turning a light switch on, from, you know, a flick of the hand, a flick of the hair. They're all habits, you know. So it's really, the biggest thing is identifying the good ones from the bad ones initially and it's the bad habits. Oh my God. And sometimes we don't even recognize that they're bad habits, you know, and that's one of the areas that I work with my clients. I've here we go with the momentum again. I've created a momentum matrix, and essentially we look at, for both personal and professional, we look at the habits that exist now, the really good habits that exist now, the bad habits that exist now, and then we look at the habits that we want to keep and the habits that we want to work on to, you know, leave our lives. And essentially sometimes they're the most important things. It's about breaking the bad habits that prevent us from moving forward and prevent us from achieving our potential. And the bad habits they just can be so simple, you know. If, like for me, one of the, like scrolling on social media, I literally have to leave my phone in another room. The accountability is leaving the phone in another room, because even with, I don't have notifications on my phone, I don't have, but I'm like, no, I have to leave it somewhere else. Watching the same programs over again. So this is, and I'm sure plenty of your listeners will identify with this. Like for me, I noticed that when things are kind of, you know, not going so great, I will binge the US Office or Grey's Anatomy, and I will go back, but it's like a comfort blanket. It's like, you know, going to a space that we know. And about 2 years ago, I had to actively put down in a diary, stop watching Grey's Anatomy. And that was, you know, breaking that bad habit cycle. And my partner, my husband, will always be like, what's going on? You've got like The Office on a loop. And he'll, you know, but it's literally, those programs are like a big hug to us, and they're familiar, and they give us that, you know, like scrolling on social media, they give us that little mini hit of dopamine. And it's, you know, it's really, it's a little thank you for, you know, reward for a bad habit. And so that's the biggest thing I would say to people, is like nearly identify your bad habits as well as working on your good habits, because you'll find that the bad habits actually give you so much more time. Cutting those bad habits out, in giving yourself 3 hours during the day instead of watching 3 or 4 episodes of some drama, that's so good. But as far as the 5 good habits, the 5 habits that I'm like, if you could, I just, for me, I always say getting up earlier. I know some people say, I know that Mel Robbins will use the count from 5 and just get out of bed and not press snooze on the alarm. For me, I'm like, get out of bed a little bit earlier. And this all depends on the stage of life that we are at. But for me, if typically if my kids are going to school or whatever, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, getting out of bed might have been about 7:30, 7:45. And now I've actively in the last 3 years worked on getting that to kind of 5:45. And every weekday morning, I will aim to be out of bed by 5:45 and in a class by 6:15, in a movement class by 6:15. I hate the word exercise. By 6:15, and that class holds me accountable. A lot of people, I talk about this a lot on TikTok, a lot of people get really annoyed. It's like, I love bed, I don't want to get out of bed early. And I'm like, okay, that's you do you. But for me, the difference of 2 hours between 7:45 and 5:45 is me, like, excuse my language, but getting shit done in those 2 hours or feeling like shit at 7:45. And it's such a difference. And to quantify it, it's 40 hours extra for me, because I don't, in those 2 hours, I don't work. I go to my class, I go for a walk, I'll come home. If it's school term, I'll have breakfast with my kids, I'll have my cup of coffee. Those 2 hours are just for me, and that's 40 hours just for me a month, for my self-care, and it's really life-changing. And it's like, not necessarily that you need to do 5:45, do 7:15, do 7 a.m. But from 7 a.m. to 7:30, make it intentional for you. Make that time intentional for you if you can, because as I say, we're all in different life stages. But out of my 5 habits, that for me is the most important one. And then I just talk about the simple: drinking water, moving with joy, gratitude, and letting things go, letting physical things go and emotional things go every single day. And that's what we just talked about. If somebody can't let something go, that's when they need to take it a little bit further and understand why they can't. But number 3 is really important, because find something that brings you joy, as far as that dreaded word exercise is concerned, as far as movement, as far as improving your overall physical health. Because if you don't enjoy it, you'll stop doing it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing,
Yeah. I was just thinking while you were talking, I go by my habits. There are days when I just don't feel like doing things. And as you said that you binge watched Grey's Anatomy, and like we all have our own things. So there was a time, Linda, that I used to get really agitated with my own self. That I am highly observant about my personality, about my nature, about what I'm feeling, what not. I am highly awakened and conscious of things that, okay, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. In spite of all this awakening, I'm still giving in to those moments wherein I don't feel like doing anything. And I'm not going by my habits. I have lived these moments so much in my life. And I think that is something which keeps on happening with me. I have tried literally hard, I'm telling you. Literally hard. So what happened is like, when I don't feel like doing it, I just take the remote, sit on the couch and in front of the TV, start eating things and whatever I feel like doing. By going through that episode over and over again, because I know once I am done with that moment, once I'm done with that feeling, I come back with full throttle to all my highly disciplined Kashira.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
happens. This is a consistent pattern with me, which I observed about myself. That actually got me another kind of, an idea, another kind of enlightenment, that it is okay to allow yourself to go through those moments and just accept it, that there is an outage, there is a downtime with you. You're also your product. There is a downtime going on, and do not unnecessarily mess with it. Do not just start feeling guilty or agitated, what I used to do earlier, but just accept it as a phase in your life. What happens, like, when you accept it as a phase, you're not even losing those moments when you should enjoy binge watching. It's okay. I mean, you've decided you're binge watching, at least enjoy that moment. As you said, that we should be able to enjoy what we do. So even if you know that, okay, this is a downtime, you're not working, you're not being productive, so don't kill yourself with all those self negative talks. Enjoy those moments, allow yourself to have that downtime phase, and then once you're back, take back the charge and lead it. So
I
that,
love that. I love that because it's do you know what? It's so important. I didn't have my kids for the first 2 days of this week. They were off with their grandfather, and I didn't get up early, and purposely and intentionally didn't do it because my body did need rest, and I was like, this is, we're going into the winter and the autumn and then into the winter, and your body does need rest.
yeah.
But and you've hit the nail on the head, Kashira, because you've gone, I recognize the pattern, and that's part of the habit now, because you know that you are going to get full tilt, into that, hyper focus mode, and that's okay. But the biggest message out of what you've just said is no guilt and no shame over when you've done it. For me, I'm talking about things that turn into weeks and months. So I think that we should give ourselves, a few days, a month, and even now I'm looking at other areas and looking at our menstrual cycle, because we can tick off habits, but if we are in our luteal phase of our menstrual cycle, that's when you're meant to rest. That's when you're meant to maybe take your foot off the pedal as well. And that's why it's finding, like, for me, and that's the thing. It's all bespoke. It's all what works for you. For me, getting out of bed early, I will still continue to do that during the different phases of my menstrual cycle, but I might not necessarily have the same vigor in my movement during these weeks, but it's the consistency of still doing it as well, if that makes sense. But and I really think that I have a morning habit tracker, because it's kind of the whole morning ritual and everything like that. But actually, I've been working on and the other idea of having a multiple morning habit trackers based on how you feel that morning. So it's essentially that you still tick the box of those 5 or 6 things that are really important, but maybe you haven't gone as aggressively into them as you would other mornings based on how you feel. So it's like, I suppose, for me, it's like I see these, I'm going to use movement as an example. I see these intense 6-week courses or 10-week courses, and it's like, walk for 1 hour a day, or walk, and it's like, why do we have to do that? It's like, if we walked for 15-20 minutes every day with intentionality and purpose. And every so often we give ourselves the day off without guilt, without shame. That's okay as well. But it's like just doing things that make us happy. And maybe it's not walking that makes you happy, but finding something for 10 or 15 minutes, as far as maybe it's putting on a playlist and dancing in your kitchen for 10 minutes. But it's just keeping, and I've done a lot of talking about this, it's keeping the habit is the movement, not what you do. So it's just keeping it, and we all need those down days, we all need, but it's just having that little bit of consistency in your life. And I've seen, there's sometimes where I've forgotten to drink water. I talk about drink water and it's like, oh my God, I haven't. And it's all of the tips that I have. It's about putting water right in front of you to drink it, and if you don't like water, it's like, okay, well, how can we, put cucumber in it or lemon in it or whatever. And like the biggest tip for me for drinking water is that having a pint or a half a litre, 500 mils of water beside your bedside when you wake up, and drinking that first thing. If you drink a litre of water a day, that's 50%. If you drink 2 litres, that's 25%. But you started the night before on your intentions, and I just think you just have raised such an important part of habits. It's that recognizing that you need that time off, and that's part of the up and down of it as well. Because let's face it, more power to people who do it for 365 days a year. I'm probably not one of those people, but it's the intention to do that, and it's the productivity that it brings with it, and it's the anxiety that it reduces as well. So for me, getting out of bed at 5:45, it might sound horrific to some people. I wake up before my alarm. Unless and people are like, oh, I want the sleep, I'd rather the sleep, but your body literally is like at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening, I need to go to bed. So it all kind of works backward, and it's knowing that by 8 a.m. I don't have to move for the rest of the day if I don't want to, because I've got that movement in as well. So it's all, and that reduces my stress and my anxiety. So it's all just, everything is so bespoke to each individual, but it's really helping people and understanding that rest is okay, and rest is a huge part of your life, and I think we're moving away from this hustle culture. You can see that, you can see that self-care is such an important part as well.
Absolutely. As you say that one size doesn't fit all. For our habits, just to sum it up for everyone, our habits, the way we do it, what is the kind of mechanism we want to follow our habits, whether we want to allow downtime, we do not want to allow downtime, whether we want to have all 7 days packed schedule. There are certain people who like to go by the schedule even on Saturdays and Sundays. There are certain people who say that no, this is my Sunday and I am free. I just gonna be lazing around. So there's nothing right, there's nothing wrong. So this is what Linda and I have been talking about, that one, habits are critically important. Yes, we should have good habits. Try to replace your bad habits with good ones. Have a schedule for yourself so that when we get up in morning, we're not lost that what is it that we have to do. So your habits come into role here because you know that, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And by doing that, you will be able to cut down your unnecessary wastage of time and you'll be more productive. And as we discuss that, decide it for yourself, that how you would like to customize, and then plan it and then act on it. we can keep talking. There are so many people out there like Linda who's trying to create that positive wave in the society, trying to help people in making lives better. But it is entirely up to us at an individual level whether you want to act on it or not. People can
And
keep saying things.
it's an experiment.
Yes.
Experiment. And try and test different things.
Yeah.
Like for that's the whole, the whole beauty of social media and this interaction and LinkedIn and the communities that are being created by different people. It's amazing, but it's about taking the bits that work from you from all of the different communities and working it that you create your own. Because I mean, we both know, Kashira, wouldn't life be very boring if we were all the same? It's about that diversity.
5 fingers.
Yeah, but it's about creating that diversity for ourselves, and it's about creating. It's about creating a path to happiness, a path to progress, without and remove guilt and shame and feeling bad for taking time off. Take the time off, because your body needs it, and especially women at certain times of the month, we need that rest as well, and I love that. It's just what works for you. That's the key to all of this.
That is superb, Linda. There are a lot of people who are going to find wisdom from what we just discussed, because we have talked about some really basic things through which many of us go through every day. This is a basic struggle in everyday's life. So all the people out there, we are really hopeful that you will gain some insights and wisdom we have discussed in this call and try to implement. Please try to implement and make yourself a better person. Strive for a better life. And that is what we can do as human beings, right? Keep moving for
That's
better.
it.
Yeah?
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Perfect. And as Linda concluded on the note that leave shame and guilt, try to stay ahead of your fears. We know it's difficult. There are so many people struggling with their fears. Try to work on it and let us know if you need any help from us. I think Linda and I, we both are going to be super excited to assist you on anything you would need.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just corporate cam across everything, the website and social media. So I'd be happy to help. And the biggest thing as well, Kashira, if you find that you can't leave guilt or shame behind, really think about seeking professional help and think about seeking, why you can't, and removing those blocks as well. There's so many, there's so many therapists out there. There's so many counselors out there. There's so many, like, RTT. There's so much to do and to help. So yeah, don't leave it. Don't leave those feelings of guilt and shame with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you've got a website as well, right?
Yes.
Would you like to say that? What's that?
www.corporatetocam.com.
Perfect. And can people reach out to you even at an individual level, like if they're not organizations?
Absolutely. So if you want to email me, info@corporatetocam.com, or you can DM me on social media, and Linda Monahan, Monahan, on LinkedIn as well.
That's superb. So you have all the important details with you. Go ahead and act in your life. Stay happy, everyone. Take care.